Imagine a ticking clock echoing in an empty room. Each second, a resounding reminder of the preciousness of your life. The most valuable asset we have is time, until it's gone. I want you to think about your awesome life for a moment. How long would it take you to document and capture your life, to leave a legacy for your loved ones? Now imagine, you're about to settle in for the night, drink in hand, evening ahead. Suddenly, the phone rings, and a voice on the other end delivers life-altering news. You have just 1 week left to live. Now ask yourself, how much of your legacy would you be able to capture now in the short time that you have left on earth? Remember, folks, time is the most valuable asset we have until it's gone. For my brother and I, we lived and breathed this exact situation. 25 years ago, I was driving to school with my dad, and we were singing and laughing to our favorite songs on the radio. I got to tell you, as a 12-year-old boy, life doesn't get much better than that. The light turned red, and that's when I saw it. As my dad put the car into neutral, I noticed a golf ball-sized lump sticking out from his forearm. My heart sank. I looked up at my dad, and he'd begun to cry silently, trying so hard to make sure I couldn't see it, but I did. The light turned green. We drove the rest of the way to school in silence, the weight and the fear of unknowing hanging over us so heavily. When I got to school, I couldn't get out of the car fast enough. I said goodbye to Dad, grabbed my bag, and ran towards my classroom, and I was hit in the back of the head by this booming voice from across the car park. "Stephen, come back here, mate." As I turned, my dad had gotten down onto one knee, and as I got closer, he pulled me in and held me tightly, so tightly. But it was different. He was shaking uncontrollably. And then he'd whisper words in my ear that would change my life forever. "I love you, mate, but the cancer has come back, and I'm going to have to try and fight it again." One week later, he was gone. And what he left for my brother and I was this: a 13-minute, 20-second cassette tape of his life and wisdom. A last-minute rushed attempt to document and capture his legacy for his boys. Some time passed, and it was my mum that told me that it was the morning that my dad took me to school and I was having the time of my life that he received a phone call and his own life-altering news, being given just 1 week left to live. You know, my dad, he lived on this earth for 22 million minutes, and we received this, a mere fraction, not even a half of a cassette tape. The real heartache of this situation is not just his passing, but what this tape could have been if only there was more time. I'd now like to share with you some of the insight that I gained from some casual conversations I had with people about this really interesting topic, death. Excuse me, have you got a moment to talk about death? During these conversations, I started to see echoes of my own thoughts and feelings about legacy and death appear in their answers. And there were 3 key themes that kept coming up every answer, every person I spoke to. And I'd love to share them with you, and maybe you share the same 3 things. Number 1, we know that we're going to die. And if you haven't figured it out yet, it's going to happen. But we just don't know when. Number two, we believe that legacy capturing is really important. It's super important to document and capture our lives to leave for our loved ones. Yet, big yet, number 3, we struggle to prioritize it. Why is that? Got me thinking. If we believe that we know that we're going to die, and we believe that legacy capturing is important, why is it that we put it off till tomorrow or next week, or I'll do that? The same was true for my dad. 4 years before he died, he was diagnosed with cancer. Now, my dad, the superhero that he is, he beat cancer twice. And then he didn't. And I'm often wondering, what was the reason that he didn't start capturing his legacy for my brother and I back during that initial diagnosis? Because he knew. He thought legacy capturing was important. But there wasn't enough urgency, because the phone call giving him just 1 week to live was the kicker. It was the urgency that he needed, and I think that's what we need to start capturing and documenting our life. The only problem for my dad was that his clock was going to stop ticking a lot sooner than any of us wanted. I often wonder what the tape could have sounded like if my dad had had a habit of spending just 10 minutes a week documenting and capturing his legacy for his boys. Remember, folks, legacy waits for no one. I guess the moral of my dad's story for you is that you have the gift of knowing how it ended. You're also hearing some of the impact that it's had on the ones that he's left behind, so that you can do something about it. Through my dad's story, I want to acknowledge that it is so important to prioritize the capturing of your legacy. But I also want to recognize that we do struggle to prioritize it. However, with today's technology and gadgets, it's never been easier to document and capture your life. And I'd like to show you how easy it can be by giving you some practical tips along the way. We live in a world where we have access to some of the most powerful technology in our pockets and at our fingertips, capable of documenting and capturing anything, anywhere, at any time, just at the press of a button. Unlike the clunky tape recorder that my dad would have had to struggle with. Yet, we've become so accustomed to documenting and capturing everyday life like it's nothing. From breakfasts, lunches, dinners, sunrises to sunsets, selfies, holidays and get-togethers. What if we just spent 10 minutes a week focused on documenting and capturing our lives for our loved ones? It doesn't have to be complicated, folks. And an exercise I'd encourage you to do is think about your life. Think about your awesome life. Write down a timeline of events, significant life events, and then ask yourself 3 questions. Number 1, why was that moment significant to you? Number 2, what did you learn from that significant moment? And number 3, my favorite, and what I believe is the essence of legacy, what could you teach? What could you teach from the lessons that you learnt during a significant moment that shaped your life? That's what legacy is. And then all you've got to do, grab your phone, grab your laptop, press record, and capture it. Now, if you're fortunate enough to have an older relative or relatives still on this earth, nothing, and I mean nothing, could be more significant and meaningful to someone that you love than offering to spend some of your time with them to help them document and capture their awesome life. For your older relatives, maybe your grandfather is like my friend Ian's. He's a fantastic baker. Instead of just having the recipe, grab your phone and get him to teach you how to make his world-famous scones. Maybe your grandmother, like my friend Maria, is an amazing gardener. Grab your phone, take grandma around the garden and get her to show you her favorite plants, fruits, vegetables, and tips and tricks on how to make them big and strong. Or maybe your parents have a beautiful love story. Grab your phone, put the kettle on, and capture this beautiful, beautiful moment. You're probably thinking, Steve, why audio and video? Why not letters and text? Well, let me show you. What I'd like to do is I'd like to play you a short 30-second snippet from my dad's cassette tape. Now, before I do, I need to warn you that This was captured on day 4 of 7 leading up to his eventual death. And on day 4, his lungs stopped working. So effectively, what you're going to hear are the last words that my father ever spoke to my brother and I. Now, thinking about this moment and today, I'm about the same age as my dad was. And as a 12-year-old boy, I didn't understand the gravity or the significance of the situation. I was just sad that I was going to lose my dad, not get to see him again. But now, 25 years later, being able to share this with you, it's just an absolute honor to be able to do that. However, while difficult to hear, the message is powerful beyond measure. Here we go.
Boys, I'm so sorry. I didn't start recording this sooner. I wish I had more time. Don't make the same mistakes that I did, because you never know when it's going to end.
It's not the content, it's not the duration, and it's certainly not the audio quality. It's the fact that my brother and I still get to hear our dad's voice 25 years later, instead of reading letters and texts from him in a voice that we can't possibly remember. Folks, every day people leave this earth, and the true tragedy of this naturally occurring event of life is that for some people, they will leave with their lessons, their life, their stories, and their legacy, never to be heard again. And for some people, never to be heard at all. You all have the knowledge, the skills, access to technology, and thanks to my dad's message, maybe the spark to become directors of your own life story and to help and support your loved ones to capture their story too. Let the echoes of that ticking clock spur you into action, because your stories are a gift, and by recording them, you're leaving behind a precious and timeless legacy for those who matter most.